We are back on Dr. Walls and Friends, and we were just talking off air just about some of your training, because a lot of times, people will watch these things and they'll think, oh, how does he know, and so forth. So tell the people about you and your training.
Well, I'm presently an agronomical engineer.
Okay.
I studied in Cuba. I went there in 2002, came back in 2008, and most of that training was in an environment of ecological agricultural management.
Okay.
In Cuba, they use a lot of combinations of chemicals and organic stuff. So the two, they try to coexist the two and not put one over the other. And when necessary, go as more natural as possible for trying to save the environment, biodiversity, and make it when the system is in place, it becomes cheaper.
Okay.
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 And my brother here, when you hear him speak on the agricultural part,
yes,
he with the two of us, he's my brother. We raised in a Rastafari family,
yes,
firstly. And our youthful experience in most of it was agriculture, because the whole Rasta concept has always been around agriculture, doing for yourself,
yes,
ideology, sustaining yourself, and obviously the resource that is most at hand is the land, and everybody would have, as a Rastafari, some access to land to do their own type of development.
Yes.
So we have had, and then after the training itself, we came here to work with a man that I knew from smaller. He's like the founding Rastafari within movements of Lucia. So
yes,
we had always known here, and I used to come here to get food.
Okay.
So as a child, if I needed rice, if I needed something and my mother couldn't afford it, and you needed some way to sustain yourself, and you needed somebody to give you something when the system was giving us pressure and was giving the different blockage,
yes,
you would have to turn to man job.
Okay.
And then you would get some help.
Wonderful.
So
wonderful. So we have some more items here. Some I'm familiar with and some I am not familiar with.
Yeah.
So tell us what we have here.
Yes. I'll begin with what you're familiar with, most likely. It would be the mung beans.
Yes.
We have been producing mung beans over the past 2 years, more or less in the direction to go into sprouts. This is here, not commonly known. A few.
So this is the mung, M-U-N-G, mung beans. They're green. They can be found in different stores and different produce markets within the states.
And health food stores within St. Lucia.
Okay.
We'll be going into sprouting, so we'll be going into mung bean sprouts, and hence this why we go into the production of it.
Okay. And one of the things about mung beans is it has a lot of protein.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, it has the most protein of all the beans.
The short beans.
Oh, the short beans.
The short beans. Let's be specific.
Okay, thank you. Yes, let's be specific. My mother taught me that word. Be specific. Okay.
The short beans.
Okay.
Because on the alkaline side, the vine beans and the tall beans are very high in protein.
Okay.
We're not only eating food for protein, we're also eating food for added minerals. We also eat food for energy.
Okay.
Now the food that takes longer in the soil has deeper roots, grows higher,
yes,
has more energy.
And that's considered the long beans?
So these are the beans that take longer. You see, beans are characterized in two families. We have the Phaseolus vulgaris, because it was built by Phaseolus vulgaris, a guy from Europe.
Okay.
And we have the Vigna varieties, which was given the name Vigna for being very resistant. Natural varieties, they grow by themselves. They don't need people to grow them a lot of time. And they grow within a lot of them in vines.
Okay.
So you have a lot of different vine food. So they are also very, very high in protein.
Okay.
What the problem is, when they grow in these areas, and then they're not easily accessible. So, we grow in our agricultural systems, monoculture systems, things that we can grow within a certain way and harvest it within a certain way, and also the certain time.
Yes.
So that's why we stick with these beans. But they're not the most healthy beans. I'm saying that for us to use. They're not the most healthy beans. We prefer to use the other beans. Okay. Even like we have the tofu soybean here.
Yes.
soybean is the most best way to use the soybean is when it's fermented and make the tofu.
Okay.
I mean, the protein bonds in soil, I mean, we know they have evidence it
Yes.
can cause cysts if you eat too much.
Yes.
You know, the protein mimics estrogen in women. And could cause, if too much use, can cause some problems. But it's a very good bean to help feed people because we're living in a time where we have mouth feeding constraints.
Yes.
And we're living in a time where they have value added tax. And the food is becoming a stress for our population.
Okay.
And if we could grow our own food and grow grains,
Yes.
specifically grains, we could have some food security within times of hurricanes, within times of natural disasters, and even economic hard times.
Exactly.
That we could feed people.
Exactly.
And we owe that to him still, that part.
All right.
Because he has been the founder of self-sufficiency within grain production.
Okay.
And then I would want you to continue saying that.
Yes. These are some of what we call the pigeon peas, or also poagol. And in speaking in light of the beans, one of the beans which actually grow higher above ground, actually our height, 8 feet, 5 feet. And actually, we are in love with them because of the nutritional content as well.
Okay.
They give a different flavor and taste to food as to mung beans and all the other beans. We also produce a variety of all the different beans, the wing beans, poissem, poachus, so all the different varieties for our own food security, and we consume them heavily. But those will be for added value products.
Okay.
For, as he mentioned earlier, we'll be going, the soybeans would be used for tofu production and milk production.
Okay.
As the mung beans will be for sprouting, so will be mung bean sprouts.
Okay.
This so this is the mung beans and this is the soya beans.
Now what is this?
This here is what we call guinea corn. It is also referred to as sorghum. The intention for this is for our health. Split it up. This is an entire pod, but the bean is actually, we use a roller and roll it out.
Okay.
The brown
Oh,
bean
look at that.
comes out of the shell,
And then you point.
and then it's been ponged to a flour. The flour, we use it
Grind upon
Look
it.
at that.
as for cereal.
That's the leaf, taking off the shell. That's the shell right here. These are the shells after you take it off. These are the shells.
And these are the beans.
These are the beans.
Those are the beans. Wow.
And the beans are actually grind or blend if you have a blender. And the beans, we recommend them as for baby cereal for nutrition.
Oh.
They are very good. They are high level of nutrition and the potency within the beans. So different times we make our own cereal. We use it in combination sometimes with the soya bean. Because we take the milk with the sorghum, and sometimes what we use toloma
Okay.
and make the free, and they call it a satwa
The
or
toloma is arrowroot.
arrowroot.
And now you also mentioned, you said a B17.
Yeah, well, it's not in your everyday literature, so you wouldn't just pick up a secondary school science book or see it, or any of the normal science books that promote sciences and biochemistry or organic chemistry or inorganic chemistry. You wouldn't find any of this in it, but it exists.
Okay.
We have documentation on internet that proves it, and they have chemicals or compounds called nitridicides that they take out of that same B17 and use.
Okay.
It can be found on the internet, but the vitamin B17, or so-called, because I have to say it as it is for now, because it's so-called, because most people don't believe it's there, is found in all those natural plants and natural grains that grew before the modern day cereal grains.
Okay.
Okay,
Alright.
so things like millet, in the early 1800s to the 20th century, millet was it was in the forefront of the cereal production in Canada.
Right.
And by the end of the Second World War, on their own, oat, barley, wheat, and all these replaced all the natural grains
Okay.
as the modern day contemporary confectionery for pastry.
Okay.
So we drop off all the natural things. So we lost that. That's why our cancers are rising. Because what is said that the vitamin B17 has the first thing is that it has a negative charge. So what they're saying is that the charge it has is different from that of your blood antibodies.
Right.
So it would allow itself to go around as a mineral itself to help fight the cancer.
Okay.
What happens is they say it and then release a small amount of cyanide, inert cyanide that it has in it. What they say that your antibodies normally, when they go to a cancer cell, they repel each other because of the charge, the same charge.
Right.
So they repel. So that your antibodies wouldn't be able to fight a cancer, and the cells multiply because they have the same charge.
Right.
And what they say is the natural plants don't. And so what they use as proof is the different peoples that are living in the different regions of the earth in still a close natural form.
Right.
They have no cancer. So you go down into the Amazon jungle and you find the Indians that live down there. There are no cases of cancers according to the documentary. You go within the steppe mount or the Tibetan mountains and look at the Tibetan monks, and there are no cancer signs because they say that they use a lot of apricot. Actually, apricot is used as the form of income or money exchange. Apricot has a lot of value in Tibet. So, and it's not the type of apricot we have here. The apricot.
Yes.
So they say the seed of the apricot has a lot of vitamin B17. We also have a grass here in St. Lucia that's full of it. Johnson grass. So right here behind us, that's a field full of Johnson grass. They say you can pull up the center of the stalk that has the rhizome and suck it. Also, the rhizome could be used. Oh wow! Right? Yeah. You can suck the ends. The seeds. The birds eat a lot of the seeds because the seeds are full of vitamin B17. So all the natural grains and sorghum, millet, all the grains that are there before wheat. Yes. Or came along or has been there before wheat, because wheat also has been from a part of natural selection of grasses before it reached to what it is. So we know, according to history of the fruit itself, that this is very good, very nutritious, and should be an easy replacement, or could be an easy replacement for the modified corn that we use to make cornmeal porridge and corn cereals, which is not very healthy for our people.
Well, before we get eaten up by these mosquitoes a little bit more, tell us about the rice.
This here is our freshly grown rice, freshly harvested. Have not been even fully cleaned up. They are the Taiwanese variety. The seeds go from the Taiwanese mission, which is in St. Lucia.
Harvested in 2008. And planted in January of this past year.
And January. We into